Hi everyone, welcome back. So, in the previous part, we understood what a contract of sale is and who are buyers and sellers. Now, we move deeper into how a sale operates in real life. When it becomes a sale, when it is only a promise to sell, how price is decided, and what exactly the seller promises about the quality and condition of goods. So, let's begin with a very fundamental but extremely important topic, that is, what is sale and what is agreement to sell. So, at the first glance, both sound very similar, but legally they are very different in timing, ownership, and risk. A sale means the ownership of goods is transferred immediately, and an agreement to sell means ownership will be transferred at a future date or after some condition is fulfilled. So, whenever you buy something online, the moment the goods are handed over to you, the transaction becomes a sale. But when you book something today and receive it in the next week, you are currently in an agreement to sell phase. So, let's understand some of the key differences between sale and agreement to sell in very simple words. So, in a sale, ownership passes now. In an agreement to sell, ownership passes later. In a sale, risk follows ownership. If goods are destroyed, buyer bears the loss. In an agreement to sell, risk remains with the seller himself. In a sale, buyer can sue for delivery of goods. In an agreement to sell, buyer can only sue for damages. Let's understand this with an example. Rohit goes to a mobile store and pays rupees 20,000. The shopkeeper gives him the phone immediately. Now, this is a sale because ownership passes instantly. Now, imagine Rohit pays rupees 5,000 as advance and the shopkeeper promises to deliver the phone next week when the stock arrives. Now, this is an agreement to sell because ownership will pass only in the future. Now, ask yourself this question. When you pre-order a phone online, is it a sale or an agreement to sell? Now, if your answer is agreement to sell, then you're correct and your concept is clear. Now that we know the difference between sale and agreement to sell, the next logical question is, how is the contract of sale actually formed? And this is explained in section 5 subsection 1, where a contract of sale is made by offer by one party, acceptance by another party, delivery of goods and payment of price, and most importantly, the contract may be in writing, oral, or implied from the conduct. So, a sale does not need a stamp paper, signatures, or lengthy contracts. Even buying a cup of tea is a contract of sale. Okay? So, now let's say you walk into a cafe and order coffee and you pay rupees 100 and receive the coffee. There is no written agreement, there are no signatures, but yet legally a valid contract of sale is formed by conduct. Then, let's say when you click buy now option and the seller confirms the order, a contract of sale is formed through electronic communication, which is also legally valid. Once a contract of sale exists, the next question is, how is the price decided? So, a price may be fixed by the contract or left to be fixed in an agreed manner, or it can be determined by the course of dealings between the parties, or it can be decided by valuation of a third party. So, if a price is not determined, the buyer must pay a reasonable price. So, this flexibility is important because business realities do not always allow fixed pricing in advance. So, let's understand this with one more example. Now, a manufacturer agrees to buy cotton from a farmer at a market price prevailing on the date of delivery. Now, price is not fixed now, but the method of determining the price is fixed, and this amounts to a valid contract. Now, let's take another example. A and B agree that price of a machinery will be fixed by an engineer. Here, if the engineer fails to value, the agreement becomes void. But if the goods are already delivered, the buyer must pay a reasonable price. So, ask yourself this question. Is price compulsory to be fixed at the time of contract? I will repeat, is price compulsory to be fixed at the time of contract? Now, if your answer is no, then you have clearly understood the concept of determination of price. The answer is no because method of price determination is sufficient under the Sale of Goods Act. Okay, now we come to the most practical and exam heavy portion, that is conditions and warranties. Every sale includes promises by the seller regarding the goods. Now, these promises can be of two types. One is condition and the other is warranty. So, what is a condition? A condition is a major term of the contract, and if it is breached, the buyer can reject the goods, terminate the contract, and also claim damages. Whereas a warranty is a minor term, and if it is breached, the buyer can only claim damages but cannot reject the goods. Now, to tell you in simple words, think of conditions as the foundation of the contract and warranties like a finishing touch to the contract. Okay, now let's understand the concept of types of conditions and warranties through one integrated case study instead of learning it from definitions. Okay, so the case study goes as follows. Fresh Cart is a food delivery startup that buys fruits in bulk from the wholesalers and delivers it to the customers. Okay, now the first case. Fresh Cart buys apples from a supplier. Later, it is found that the apples were actually stolen goods. Now, what happens here? This is a breach of condition as to title. So, here, Fresh Cart can reject the goods plus recover the price and also claim for damages. So, what did you understand by condition as to title? So, condition as to title is an implied condition which says that the seller can sell the goods only if he is the true owner or has the authority to sell. So, it simply means a person can sell goods only if he owns it. Okay, now let's move to the next condition, that is condition as to description. Now let's say Fresh Cart places an order for organic Kashmiri apples from one of its suppliers. Okay. Now when the consignment arrives from the supplier, the carton boxes are labeled as Kashmiri organic apples. But after inspection, Fresh Cart's quality team discovers that there are only regular apples grown using chemical fertilizers and they are not organic apples. Okay, so here what happened? Here the sale was made by description. When the goods are sold by description, the goods delivered must exactly match the description, and this legal promise is called the condition as to description. Okay, so whenever you order something online based purely on what is written, in the product description, you are trusting this condition as to description, even though you cannot physically inspect the goods before buying. Okay, now let's move to our next condition, that is condition as to fitness for particular purpose. Okay, now let's say fresh cart informs the supplier B saying we are buying these apples specifically to make baby food, so the apples must be 100% chemical free and safe for infants. Now supplier B agrees and supplies the apple. Fresh cart processes them into baby food. Later, fresh cart starts getting complaints that the babies have developed rashes. Now, investigation shows that the apples were sprayed with chemicals unsuitable for baby consumption. Now, here the apples may look fresh and tasty to the eyes as well, but they were not suitable for the specific purpose fresh cart had clearly communicated. So, whenever buyer tells the seller the particular purpose and the buyer relies on the seller's skill and judgment, the law implies a condition as to fitness for particular purpose. Okay? Now, let me ask you a question. If fresh cart had not told the supplier about baby food purpose, would this condition still apply? And if your answer is no, you're absolutely right. It is no because the seller must know the purpose for this condition to operate in advance. Okay. Now, let's move to our next condition, that is condition as to merchantable quality. Now, let's say fresh cart receives a large consignment of apples. Now, at first, everything looks fine, but when the boxes are opened, many apples are found rotten. Now, technically, these are apples, but can fresh cart reasonably sell these to the customers? Of course not, right? No customers would buy such apples, and fresh cart's brand reputation would also suffer. So, when goods are bought from a seller who deals in such goods, the law assumes that the goods will be of merchantable quality, meaning they should be reasonably fit for resale and normal use. Now, this is known as condition as to merchantable quality. So, merchantable quality does not mean luxury quality. It simply means a saleable quality, that is, goods that a reasonable person would accept in the market. Okay, now let's understand about the implied warranties. So, the first implied warranty that we are going to talk about is warranty of quiet possession. Let's continue with the case study of fresh cart itself. Now, let's say fresh cart purchases apples from supplier C and starts selling them through its app. Suddenly, another trader arrives at the fresh cart's warehouse claiming that the apples were actually supplied to him earlier and were wrongly diverted to fresh cart. Now here, a legal dispute begins. Even though fresh cart has the apples in possession, its right to peacefully use and sell them is now disturbed by third-party claims. Now here, the law assumes that the buyer will enjoy quiet possession of the goods, meaning no third person should disturb the buyer's possession or use the goods. Now, this legal promise is called warranty of quiet possession. Okay, I hope you understood. Let's further move to our next implied warranty, that is warranty as to freedom from encumbrance. Now, what does this mean? Fresh cart buys apples from supplier D. Later, fresh cart receives a notice from a bank stating that these apples were pledged as security for a loan taken by supplier D. Now, fresh cart now has possession of goods that are legally burdened by someone else's rights. Now, here there is an implied warranty that goods are free from any charge or encumbrance in favor of a third party unless the buyer is aware of such charge at the time of contract. So, through Fresh Cart's everyday business dealings, we uncover that the law silently inserts certain important promises into every sale. Some promises go to the root of the contract, that is nothing but conditions, and some promises relate to peaceful enjoyment and freedom from claims, those are nothing but warranties. Now, these legal promises protect the buyer even when nothing is expressly written in the contract. Okay. So, let me give you a small trick. Title, description, fitness, quality. These four decide whether the deal stands tall. Quiet possession, freedom from load. Now these two decide whether you enjoy what you bought. Okay. So with this, we complete the topic on conditions and warranty. See you in the next session.